we're going to be doing some work to the Supra, and it's just going to be a lot of little miscellaneous things that need to be done before we get, almost to the point that we're ready to start it. So I'll kind of go over what we're going to be doing and try to do kind of an in-depth on what I'm doing, because it's a lot of things that I can't find like online or even here on YouTube. I can't just, I can't look it up and see how to do it or anything like that, any information on it. So I'm going to try and do that for all the people who are just like me and need to see it rather than read it. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get started on that. Starters, I'm going to be trying to remove this lower intake. Right now my biggest pain is this banjo bolt right here, but other than that, shouldn't be a big deal. Take the fuel rail off, get to the bolts and nuts that hold the lower intake on, take it off. As you can see, I finished all of the wiring. It's all wrapped and looking nice all the way to the firewall. The entire thing looks great. I'm happy with it. I do need to touch this up a bit. It's just hard to get to it with the fuel rail in the way. But yeah, so we're gonna be doing that, and then also I'm gonna be messing with some of the heater hoses, because like you see right down there, there's a hose right there with a bolt clamped in it, and I don't see the point in that. I think it went to the return, which is right here. So I'm going to try and delete that altogether. And then also I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this one, which also went to the heater. I'm debating whether I just want to reroute it or block it off. I'll probably just reroute it, since it'll add more flow with the coolant and all. And then also back here, it's hard to see, you probably won't be able to see it. Yeah, right there is the EGR cooler, and I'm also going to be taking that off. They say it, you have to have your heads off or the engine out to take it off, but I guarantee I can get some wrenches back there. So we're going to do that so I can perform the proper EGR delete. And yeah, so that'll be kind of the majority of what I'm doing today. So let's go ahead and get started. Got the lower intake off, which actually makes it a whole lot easier to get through this side of the engine. It lets me replace this little fuel adapter thing with the one that comes on the car. Something to do with the heater is these hoses, like that hose back there, and then this hose, which this hose actually goes to the idle air, the idle air control valve, and this will go into one side, and then the other side will come off, and then there's an intake, there's a little bump, like nipple that comes off the intake, and the return port goes into here. So since I'm not going to have an idle air control valve with this new intake that I'm having made, I'm probably just going to loop it, and that'll take care of that little deal there. Other than that, I just was able to, I'm going to clean up all my injectors. If it needs, if any of them need seals, I'll reseal them. Clean up the fuel rail, finish the harness, since it was underneath the intake and I couldn't get to it. So I'll finish that. And yeah, so I think the next thing I'm going to start trying to get to is, see if you can see it back here. Right there is the EGR valve. So we're going to try and take that out of there as best we can. But yeah, so let's go ahead and start squeezing back there. There's been a change of plans. I don't have the right socket to get back behind the head. It's just a 10 millimeter, but the 10 millimeter I have is a deep well, and I need just a normal one. I gotta go get one, but it's possible. They say you can't do it without pulling the head off, but I don't believe that. So I'm gonna do that later on. It's not that big of a deal. But actually for now, since my timing belt kit is on its way here, I'm actually gonna start removing all of the timing stuff and I'll go ahead and, you know, show you guys how to do that. Alright, so whenever you're doing the timing belt on almost any car that's belt driven, well, I guess and chain driven is the same. I hate doing chains, but you've got, if you look down here, you've got timing marks on this, I don't know, just the timing cover, and you've got these little marks on the crank pulley that will correspond to these, and you want this mark to line up with 0. That means you're at top dead center. But whenever you do that, you also want these marks to line up with these little notches. So if you turn that and line that up down there, but these don't line up, you need to continue to rotate this until all of them line up like they're supposed to. Once you do that, then you're gonna get a impact and remove the crank pulley bolt so you can take the crank pulley off. And once you do that, then we will continue on from there. On the 7Ms, it's going to be a 19mm for these for the harmonic balancer bolt, or the crank pulley, that's what you want to call it. It's a 19mm, and what you're going to want to do if your impact is weak like mine, you can either try hitting it with some like liquid wrench or, you know, PB blaster, whatever. If that doesn't work, I had to take a torch to it. Just one of these torches is fine. I held it on there until, I mean, it wasn't like glowing, but it was super hot. And then I hit it with the impact and it came right off. And then you're also gonna need a harmonic balancer puller to actually pull the pulley off. So to do that, it's just this little, like, looks like a little bird foot, and it's got some bolts, and you'll screw it in to any of these, and then it's got a center shaft that goes back here, and you just crank down on that center shaft and it will pull this off. So go ahead and do that, and we'll get back to it when that's done. Alright guys, so it's dark out here if you can't tell, but I lied to you. You don't need a pulley puller. It just literally, I grabbed it and it just came right off. So all you're gonna do now is you're gonna take off this cover right here. You just obviously just take the bolts that hold it on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, that one's not 1. 4 and 5 down there. And the cover will come off. So let's go ahead and do that. Guys, so once you get that lower timing cover off, you're going to be able to see all of the timing belt assembly. And if you look down here, you've got the timing belt tensioner, which is spring loaded, unlike some which is hydraulic. So all you're going to do is loosen this bolt here with a 14mm, and then you're going to take your pliers and you're going to take your spring off, and from there you can just take the bolt out, and then there will be 2 bolts underneath which are 12mm I believe, and your tensioner will come off and the belt will come off, and it's as simple. Alright guys, so we got all of the timing components off. If you look, tensioner went right here. Then there's this gear that you can take off. I'm not going to. Then we also took off the timing sprocket, which you have to take out the woodruff key here, and don't lose this. You have to have this, but you just grab some pliers and it comes right out. And you slide the gear off. And the only reason I'm doing that, because you don't have to change the timing belt, is because there's a crank seal right here, and since you're already down here, you might as well replace it along with your cam seals. So we're going to be replacing those just because we're already we're already here. So yeah, we're going to do that, and then I'm also, if you want to do what I'm going to do, I'm going to degrease all of this and clean all of this up since, it's open. But yeah, guys, so that's pretty much how you do your timing belt. And you know, to put it back on, it's literally just reversal of what you did. Just make sure that, you know, you had your cam at top dead center along with your crank, and yeah, you just reverse the way you took it off. So yeah. Alright guys, so that's pretty much gonna be it for this video. I didn't get a whole lot done just because I don't have a whole lot here. I'm still needing to get a compressor alongside with a portable sandblaster so I can clean up a bunch of these parts. Just because, I mean, I'm in no rush to really get this done, so I might as well take my time on it and, you know, clean everything up, make it look nice, alongside, you know, doing it right. So yeah, that's pretty much gonna be it. If you guys have any questions, drop a comment. I'll answer it all. You know, I'll give the best answer that I can. And yeah, so you got, you know, leave a like, subscribe, leave a dislike, tell me what I can do to improve. Hit the bell for the notifications so you don't miss any of my videos. And just keep your heads up, keep moving forward, and I will see you guys in the next one.